This man scrubs his paralyzed wife every night, but today he had just put on the bath water. Suddenly his leg slipped and he fainted. The wife was desperate to see this, because the water from the tap was still flowing into the bathtub. The water was already above her neck. She was paralyzed, but she couldn't do anything about it. She realized that if she sat there and waited, she would soon drown. The desire to survive compels her to do something, so she puts her hopes on her right foot. She tried to hook out the drain valve at the bottom, but her paralyzed body is unable to do so. Undaunted, Laura tries again and again, and finally, she was able to do it. With all her might, she was able to pull the valve open with her foot, but it's only halfway open. The water was coming in faster than it was coming out. The water was about to reach her nose. Laura rushed to pull the valve with her foot. Unexpectedly, this is a mistake. Instead of pulling out the drain valve, and accidentally broke the chain on the top. Laura did not want to be drowned alive. She put her hopes on the shower at the bottom. She shifted all her strength to her left hand. She tried to move the position of the shower to control the water release switch, but it's too slow. The rising water level gradually eats away at her. Undeterred, Laura decides to give it a go. In a moment of crisis, she pulls. Although the twisting of the switch slowed down the flow of water, but the rising water level, she could not get out of the danger. In order to break the deadlock, Laura slowly extended her feet out of the water and focused her weight on the balls of her feet. And then she hit the drain valve, and finally opened the valve. As the water level dropped, Laura was able to save her life. But then she was surprised to find, after experiencing this battle between life and death, her paralyzed body actually reacted. But now is not the time to be happy. She held the edge of the bathtub with both hands. She slowly got up to check her husband on the floor, but strangely enough, her husband, who had just been on the floor, had disappeared. There were still traces of her husband's blood on the doorframe. Looking at the red footprints on the floor, Laura was in a state of shock. She couldn't understand why her husband hadn't fallen into a coma and yet he hadn't paid any attention to her. It was then that Laura recalled what her girlfriend had told her a few days ago. Her husband might have a lover. Combined with what happened now, it seems that her husband has designed a murderous plot. The purpose is to murder himself. She can only move slowly with her upper body, with a strong desire to survive. Laura struggled to her feet. Then she jumped in front of the phone. She picked up the phone and tried to call the police, but her husband had already ripped out the phone cord. At that moment, a dark shadow suddenly appeared outside the door. She realized that it was probably her husband. Laura, who didn't want to be taken advantage of, immediately took a piece of glass to defend herself. She wanted to see what her husband was up to, but when she came outside, she realized the shadow was just a curtain blown by the wind, but she was still too scared to let her guard down. Then she slowly walked downstairs, holding the shard tightly. She was afraid that her husband would come out of nowhere and murder her.